Hey, it's Crusoe coming at you from the Shuffle for Distance command post and downstairs in the gear room. So, been off the trail for about a week and a half, and 4 days from now, I will be back on the Appalachian Trail, heading out of the Knock and towards Fontana Dam. So, knowing that winter is not gone, despite the incredible weather that we've had over the last week, I've been kind of doing some fine tuning of some gear. I am going back out with my hammock, and I wanted to make, things a little bit more efficient, a little bit easier. Specifically, the continuous ridge line for my tarp, as well as experiment a little bit with the beck knot and make, coming up with the continuous loop, suspension system that will make, tying that a little bit, or untying it a little bit easier in the morning. And so I'm kind of experimenting with that. So I typically don't, not a huge fan of gear videos, especially pre, big event type gear videos. I'm more interested in, what worked at the end. And there's plenty of videos out there. Frozen from Outdoor Adventures, when he did his 2019 through hike, did a fantastic series on gear and specifically his hammock setup. But using lessons learned from that, as well as the, I did about 1,100 miles last year, and a good chunk of them was with a hammock. So I kind of build upon that. So, obviously it's a little bit different. I took my hammock out mostly in the summertime last year, and it was hot. I had a 40-degree top quilt with a 30-degree underquilt, and it was still pretty warm most nights. And this year, knowing that the Smokies are unpredictable, and so I gotta really be kind of prepared for inclement weather. So looking forward to that. So I spent the day kind of working some hammock stuff, kind of showing some different videos, and if you see value in that, let me know. It was kind of fun putting it together, and I am looking forward to seeing everybody. So here goes nothing. All right, here we go. So today in the mail came 2 continuous loops, as well as 2 Dyneema straps, as well as a continuous ridge line for the tarp with Namaclaws. So I need to make a couple modifications to my hammock, and then as well to my tarp to get kind of set up. So what I'm trying to do, and we'll talk about the tarp like really quick. So here is a Dutch wear continuous ridge line with a wasp on it, and then a soft shackle that attaches into the basically ring eyelets on the tarp, and they're in the middle, and the tarp basically folds in half over the continuous ridge line. But it's on this prusik, and which makes it adjustable, but like they get bound up really easy, and which is kind of one of those annoying things that I just wanted to solve. So that's why I went with the Namaclaws, because it's basically going to do the exact same thing as this prusik knot, but with this metal little claw that uses, basically it bends when it tightens, which keeps it from moving. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And then for the continuous loops for the hammock system, so Autumn Light does, basically it's the same thing, but it has this extra loop on it. And this extra loop, when you're using a Beckett hitch with the Dyneema straps, gives you like a handhold, so that when you pull it apart in the morning, it's easier to pull out. So that's kind of why I'm switching to this. I used the Dutch wear beetle buckle with the Sil Poly strap, but I had one come apart on me, so it makes me a little nervous going out in the woods, especially on a through hike, with this system. I still may end up taking this, but I really want to give this a solid effort. So anyways, let's swap this out. So when you're looking at this, So I have the Catunia's loop, and then this is a peak bag, and then here is the ridge line. So I just kind of keep it all put together. So I'm going to take the peak bag off, kind of put it to the side, and then here is the ridge line. I will put that to the side, and then kind of open this thing up a little bit. So as I'm looking at this, it kind of feeds inside itself through this gathered area. So I am going to use Frozen's technique from Outdoor Ventures and on how to do this. A little bit easier. So all I have to do is I pull this all the way through. So I still have this loop going all the way through, and I will untie this. And then it's like a little bit of a trick to kind of initially get it in. Almost there. All right, so all the way through. And all I'm gonna do, put this on the fat end, put this on the fat end, and then run this all the way through. And that's it. And as soon as you kind of get in it, it'll all pull tight. All right, now I'm going to work on the tarp to kind of start setting up the hardware on the tarp. So previously I was using Dutch Ware's Wasp, which kind of connects onto here, and then it's an ability to use zing it to lash to a tree. Works great. It's a great product, but I wanted to update to make things a lot more efficient and easier to deal with when I'm out on the trail. So that's why I picked up Autumn Ultralite's continuous ridge line for tarps. This is a Light AF Dyneema tarp, which is fantastic. He doesn't make it right now, but I'm hoping that Light AF kind of gets, now that they expanded their facility, that they get back to making these. So using Meyer Tech's technique with we're working with Namaclaws, and basically he makes like a slip knot loop. So you basically make a loop, and then you pull a piece through, and you make basically a sliding loop. Lark's head. This there's a tie out on the tarp, and then you can take and hook your Namaclaw into there, and then slide it tight, and so that'll keep your attachment tighter, and so that, you know, I mean, there's always still a risk that it'll kind of pop off, and then you'll have to go fishing for this Namaclaw, but this kind of helps kind of mitigate that a little bit. So anyways, I'm gonna go back out, I'm gonna go outside and put it all together and hang a hammock and hang a tarp. So as you can see, it's really not that difficult to set up. So these are the Dyneema straps and a Myers Tech Evo loop. This is the Autumn Ultralight continuous ridge line with the Namaclaws. With the Namaclaw on this side as well. And then the toggle system with another Dyneema strap with an Evo loop. And then kind of the reason why I swapped out is so you could see with this Beckett knot, with the extra loop here. So now I could take the Beckett knot, and so a lot of complaints are that they're, especially if you're in it for the night, you know, they're really, really hard to kind of pull apart. But you can see where, yeah, you can, you know, put a finger through there as well as to pull the strap, and they come right apart. So it's kind of the main gist of that. I am going to sleep out in my hammock tonight, so I'm just going to take a couple minutes and kind of finish up the setup, get the tarp down, get the underquilts and the top quilt in, and then I'll take you on a quick tour of my custom hammock setup. All right, so this is my custom Dream Hammock Darien, made out of 1.2, and this is a thinner mesh. I think it's 0.67 no-seam mesh. So I customized this to kind of make my life a little bit easier. I added a 2QZQ peak loft bag, and usually what I do is I keep my booties as well as my down balaclava up there. So like at night, if I get really kind of cold, I can kind of grab a hold of that and do and put that on. I also had them add in another bag. I had a War Bonnet Blackbird, the XLC, and the one thing I loved about it was that it had a shelf, it was like a side piece that kind of kicked out, and it had a shelf. Then you can, you know, throw your water bottles and phones and all kind of stuff. So I kind of had them add this bag in. I think it's fantastic. I can kind of throw things in there and it makes just life easier. I have a ridgeline organizer, also from Dream Hammock, and then as well as I have their stuff sack that and in here is I throw my down jacket and a couple of those kinds of items so that they're easy accessible in the middle of the night if it starts to get kind of chilly. The one thing I probably have about 900 miles last year. I did about 1,100 total last year, and then I did about 800 to 900 miles with a hammock. And the one thing that drove me crazy is, you know, I mean, you can't store anything in a hammock because as soon as you do, it all falls into the middle and then you can never find it. And clothes, pillows, and everything. And so that's why I wanted to add a couple of these little bags. And I know they add weight, like overall they add weight, but it just makes life easier for me to pull everything I need out, put it in its respective spot, and then it makes it easier for me to grab a hold of it and kind of keep everything organized. I mean, I even have my pillow, which is a Dutch pillow, on a lanyard, which is, you know, clips into this ridgeline, and it works out, you know, fairly well. But, you know, in the middle of the night when you're looking for your pillow, all you got to do is find the ridge line and find this lanyard, and you can kind of pull it up. So it's wanting to be a pain in the neck right now, but you get the gist. I'm using a Hammock Gear 0 degree underquilt with a 2Q ZQ underquilt protector, and then I have a Cedar Ridge 20 degree top quilt with 2 ounces of overstuff in it. What's great about Cedar Ridge is their quilts are comfort rating, not you're going to die at 20 degrees. You actually should be comfortable at 20 degrees. So between that and a Thermarest Reactor 15 and the, you know, and rando clothes that I have that I'll be taking with me, I should be plenty of warm for pretty much everything I can kind of run into. I used a similar setup up on Trey Mountain last year and was warm all the way down to, I think it was 16 degrees. And this year I have a beefier top quilt, so I feel pretty good about that. So yeah, that's my hammock in a nutshell. I like the modifications that were added today. The kind of pull tab on the continuous loop to pull this Beckett hitch out. I'm really kind of digging these Nama claws. I think they will make my life so much easier, you know, in trying to set up a tarp, especially in inclement weather. I can just throw it up and kind of slide it around.